Welcome to Building the Future, hosted by Kevin Horick. With millions of listeners a month, Building the Future has quickly become one of the fastest rising programs, with a focus on interviewing startups, entrepreneurs, investors, CEOs, and more. The radio and TV show airs in 15 markets across the globe, including Silicon Valley. For full showtimes, past episodes, or to sponsor the show, please visit buildingthefutureshow.com.
Welcome back to the show. Today we have Laura Calleia. She's a fitness and nutrition expert. Laura, welcome to the show.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have you on the show because selfishly, I would probably be one of your worst clients, but I know I need to do something about it. And I know a lot of people are in the exact same boat as me. So I'm very excited to have you on the show today. But maybe before we get into all that stuff, let's get to know you a little bit better and start off with where you grew up.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in Chicago, a suburb called Glen Ellen outside of the city.
Okay, interesting. So you went to university. What did you take and why?
Yeah, I was always interested in people and kind of what makes people tick and why people do the things they do. And I was always also an athlete. So when I was going to college, I was very interested in psychology. And they didn't really I went to the University of South Florida, and they didn't have kind of like a wellness or exercise science degree. So I took psychology with a lot of classes in like fitness and sports psychology, and I was always into that. So that was kind of like the next natural degree that I could get at that time. Okay, interesting. And then after that, I went on a little bit further. But at that time, that was a pretty good one for what I was doing. I was doing a lot of personal training on my own, but I was so interested in working with athletes and how they became athletes, and so the psychology really helped at that time.
Interesting. So the thing that always kind of fascinates me about the whole space is something you kind of mentioned to me before we started kind of recording is the divide between how much time you should actually spend kind of at the gym actually doing stuff compared to how much you should just consider your diet and health. Do you want to kind of walk us through that a little bit?
Absolutely, Kevin. And I think that, when I laughed when you kind of said to me that you're my worst client, because I think that you'd be surprised that a lot of people say that as their very first kind of introduction when we're meeting. And I think that people get very confused with how much information is actually out there. And, back when I was running and track and cross country, I mean, we would do these 2-3 hour workouts. With weights, with running, and those days are really over. I don't know if you've heard of high intensity interval training.
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and there's also another form of training called Tabata, and these two types of styles of working out have really changed the fitness industry over the last, I'm going to say probably 5 to 8 years. And gone are those days where you're an hour on the treadmill and, followed up by 45 minutes of weights. I mean, those days are really gone. And the program that I teach at Ma8trix is it's a 40-minute program, 35 to 40 when all done and said, stretching and everything. And besides that kind of working out, which I say you do 5 days a week, 40-minute workouts, and really 80% of it, as annoying it sounds, 80% of it is what you eat. It truly is. So, it's great that people work out. I think working out is sort of your icing on the cake. Not to mention it's so it's heart healthy. We hear that all the time, but it really is true. And we lose our muscle. We lose muscle every single year as we age. So working out is super important, but that diet is, number one.
Very cool. Okay, so I do want to dive a bit deeper into that, but I also want to cover your background a little bit because you've done a ton of stuff. So do you want to kind of walk us through your career up until what you're doing at Ma8trix now?
Yeah, absolutely. So as a kid, I was always that kid that was the runner. My brother was a runner. I was a runner. Very much into fitness. I don't know why. It just kind of was innate in me. And when I got to high school and I started learning about nutrition, I just thought, like, this is so cool, but can you really do this as a job?
Okay.
And, found out that you could. So had a personal training background, and went into, right out of college, I had my own personal training business for a few years, and kind of quickly learned that, as much as I loved personal training, I wasn't making the kind of income that I wanted to make.
Gotcha.
And I enjoyed selling the training packages. So I got into sales, and I still remained in the fitness and nutrition industry. I worked through different health club positions, from, fitness manager to personal training manager, spent some time with Equinox, and even at one point was a general manager of a health club. So I really spent a lot of time in that kind of health club environment, learning how to sell to various people. And then from there, I went to Polar. They do the heart rate watches for athletes. And
Right.
It was just fun. It was such a fun job. Traveled the United States and working with, health clubs and the big clubs, the small clubs, and really teaching people about the importance of heart rate training.
Interesting.
And that was so fun, and did that for about 4 years. And then all along, for about the last 9 years, I've been doing my own nutrition business on the side. So really teaching people how to eat, what to eat, lifestyle changes. And in about 2012, I was starting to get people who just had more health issues. Somebody that would have like diabetes, or someone who was taking high blood pressure medication. And to be totally honest with you, Kevin, it made me nervous.
Okay.
I didn't know like the science. And so I could tell people what to eat, but then if they said, I'm taking hydrochlorothiazide for high blood pressure, I would kind of freeze and be like, okay, like I don't know if I should tell you to take this or not do this. And so I decided to go back to school, and I got my master's degree in functional medicine and clinical nutrition.
Okay. Very cool.
And I laugh about that because people are like, okay, well, what is that? It sounds really important, but what is it? And I always tell people I'm the liaison between a medical doctor and a naturopath. And so some people, it's a pretty cool, different kind of degree. So some people will go to their MD, and the MD will say, you know what, Kevin, you have to lose 40 pounds, and, you really need to eat better. And you might say, okay, well, I don't want to take this medication anymore. What else can I do? And at that point, a doctor kind of freezes and says, okay, just like when I would freeze when I didn't know the medical terms, they kind of freeze and they don't know the nutrition. So I'm sort of that in between to help somebody, lose the weight, gain some better nutrition, maybe some energy, and then transition out of taking regular pharmaceuticals and get into the world of whole food and supplements. So, and with that, I've been able to kind of take it from individuals to corporations too. So it's kind of a specific degree, but it has a lot of general use. And that led me to now.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, interesting. I didn't tell you this before we started recording, but I think one of the best things, like I'm celiac, and I found out almost a decade ago or just under that. And it was interesting when the doctor kind of told me, well, my dad found out, and the doctor was like, your kids should go get tested. And we found out. But the point I'm trying to make is almost what you just said is they sent me to a nutritionist to say, okay, based on what your body type is and can eat, here's things that you should be kind of eating. And that, I think, at the core is what I think a lot of people struggle with, and what I struggle with sometimes is I don't really know what to do or where to start, because some of these trendy diets or exercise things seem cool and a bunch of people kind of jump on the bandwagon and then they jump off. But I, at least in my opinion, want to know, what I can eat because of my health issues or just the type of lifestyle I lead, and then what I need to do kind of at the gym, right? So, or maybe at home, because I don't want to go to the gym because it's uncomfortable, and I hate going it. It makes me so uncomfortable. So, right? So I think to your point, I'm almost that perfect person for you, because you will work with somebody like me to say, okay, you have this issue. Obviously, you can't eat bread. I have to eat gluten-free bread, right?
Right, right. And I think with what you just said, I think a lot of people, celiac especially, are gluten intolerant. I mean, I thought it was kind of exactly what you said. It was a little bit trendy. And, I almost thought being down in Los Angeles, like it was almost, people thought it was sort of cool to be gluten intolerant. And so you'd hear it left and right in restaurants. And then when it comes to celiac, it's not a choice. I mean, you can't eat that. So I think that what kind of sort of spawned me to create this program, Ma8trix, was exactly what you just said. Like, I don't know what to eat. I don't want to go to the gym. I'm uncomfortable to walk in there. I don't have the time. And so the big thing for me that I started realizing as I was working with one-on-one clients is it all starts with a mindset and habits. And I think that, for you, it's a little bit easy. I wouldn't say easy, but when you have celiac, that's off the table. So you have less choices. So it's kind of easier to make the right choice for you, I would say.
Yeah. Okay.
Because
makes sense.
So with anyone, if you were to come to me, we start with those tiny habits. And, before we were recording, you were telling me that, you don't love to go work out, but you're getting into that phase where you just, you go down to your gym and you work out. And I think the very first thing that when we start working with somebody is like kind of evaluate your day. Okay. And where do you have 35, 40 minutes? If it's at the beginning of the day, you schedule that. If it's the end of the day, you schedule it. If it's the middle of the day, you schedule it. And that's just the first, they say it takes 21 days to make or break a habit. And that's my very first word of advice to anyone out there who doesn't want to work out but knows that they should, is find that 35 minutes of uninterrupted time where you can do it. So that's kind of step one, is make that your habit. And so almost like, we get hungry around lunchtime, you're going to eat. If that's also the same time you can work out, make it that habit. So you either go get your 35 minutes in and then you eat. So that's always my kind of step one. Okay. And then once we can get people into that sort of mindset that this has to happen, I make, my program is so easier, and there's so many programs. It's not just my program. I mean, really, there's so many programs out there these days where there's a quick system. Get your 35-minute workout in, and here's exactly what you do during those 35 minutes. And then let's get into the food and nutrition a little bit. I think the easiest thing for people to just sort of focus on is whenever you go to grab something, you get in that kind of that mindset of, is this a whole food? Okay. So, a cookie, it didn't just come out of the ground that way. So, sure. Cookies, not a whole food. A power bar is not a whole food. So you get the idea of eat as many whole foods as you can. Fill your, let's say you have a basket every day to fill with everything you're going to eat. When you look in that basket, how much of the content is whole foods? And not the grocery store, but I got you. You know what I mean? So you start there, and then from there, you got to build it out. So I just build out each meal. So if I'm going to start my whole foods, I know that I'm going to have, let's say that I'm going to have a peach. It's kind of stacking. What else can I eat with that peach? Does it make sense to have? Am I somebody who can eat dairy? If not, maybe a cottage cheese and a peach would be something good to eat as a snack. Gotcha. And I just build it out from, I pick my one thing and build out a meal around it. And I try to keep it super simple. I think that, I've talked about this so many times. You go to the internet and you're like, great, there's this thing called ketogenic, and then there's intermittent fasting, and then there's vegetarian, and then there's vegan, and then there's the Mediterranean diet, and it's just so confusing. But there's good things about every food program. Sure. And that's where I try to teach people is, how do you like to eat? What foods do you like? And then let's build your daily basket around the foods you like. Now, if you said, hey, Laura, I like pizza and hot dogs and cheeseburgers, then I say, okay, maybe we got to curb your favorite foods. But yeah, cheat day. Exactly.
Okay. That makes total sense. But I'm curious to dive a little bit deeper into these Ma8trix programs that you're creating. Do you want to kind of walk us through that? And I guess maybe before you answer that, do people do you come to people physically? Can you do this over the internet, or how do you actually work with people?
Yeah, very, very good question. I work with people over the internet.
Okay.
I do go to people in the Los Angeles area,
Gotcha.
Southern California, I would say. And I can also do Skype.
Sure.
I can do FaceTime. So, the internet has turned into the best way to work together with people face to face. When it comes to teams or small groups, even if they're out of state, I actually love to fly in if we're going to do like a lunch and learn program. Those are really fun. And then
Sure.
we stay in touch through email, phone, or Skype. So to answer it simply, I can do all of those that you asked. I'll dive into Ma8trix a little bit. My favorite program, and how I kind of came up with this was, I call it the Ma8trix 8, and the 8 stands for 8 weeks. Because there's some programs out there, and they're like these elimination programs where you're not eating sugar, you're not eating alcohol, you're not eating bread, pasta, grains, some fruits. And so you're really left going like, what can I eat?
Yeah. And you can't even like go out, right? Or enjoy things for however long the program is. And it just, that sounds, maybe a lack of a better term for it, that sounds just crazy to me, because that's something, for me at least, and I think a lot of people, you're basically setting up people to fail, right? Is that fair to say?
You took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say exactly that. Right. No. I mean, you really are. And I've had so many people come to me and say, like, I did this for 30 days and I was miserable and I didn't go out of my house. And then I stopped after day 31 and I went back to exactly how I was. So what kind of excited me and gave me this idea for this, the Ma8trix 8 is, 60 days is not that long. I mean, summer's longer than 60 days. And so with the 60 days, it's a lifestyle change. So, I mean, people say like, oh, can I have a glass of wine? Yeah, absolutely. Can I have chocolate cake? Sure. Can I have a cheeseburger? Yep, you can. But what it is it's taking those 60 days, starting with kind of that. So the 60 days is the ideal program. Some people say, you know what, I'm going to get my feet wet a little bit and I'm going to do the 4 week. But I always tell people, totally fine. Get to that 3rd week and decide on the rest of the program. But the 8 weeks, that's when you're really going to see the changes. You're going to feel the changes, and people are going to see the changes in you. So,
well, you're halfway there, right? Why would you throw in the towel?
Right. Yeah. And I think that sometimes people say, well, okay, well, the holidays are coming, so I can do this from now till now. But then as soon as the holidays are coming, I'm going to go back to the way I was. And I think that's step one, is you're never going to go back to the way you were, because you're going to feel good and you're going to enjoy it along the way. So this isn't like a diet. It's a total lifestyle program. So, the first week, we're figuring out like what you like to eat, what you can eat. Are you vegetarian? Are you not? And we go through all the different types of eating. Then we, lock you into one of the styles of eating. So if you're a vegetarian, there's a vegetarian program with recipes for the entire 60 days. There's suggestions for cheat meals. There's suggestions for just a cheat snack or whatever it is. There's suggestions for all of that. If you're going to say, on Wednesday, I'm taking my wife out and I know we're going to have a couple drinks, we incorporate that into the day. So that's when I say like lifestyle, is you incorporate your life into this style. That's why I call it lifestyle. So you work your life around this, and this works its life around you. So, 5 days out of that week, there's a 35 to 40 minute workout that you can do at home with just jump rope, weights, one set of weights, jump rope, and bands. You can also do it with just body weight. If you're somebody that's just starting out and isn't at that level, it's no problem. So you've got 5 different workouts for that week. And then the last part that I added to it, and I think that this is, I've found that some people are very into it and some people are like, I'll try it out. But I added meditation and breath work.
Interesting.
And I say meditation and or breath work, because some people are like, well, what is breath work? And I have an expert on my team, and she teaches people what that is. And it's just kind of a way to release kind of that inner stress, anxiety, and tension. And if that's too advanced for people, like we just do little meditation, and the little meditation is just kind of resetting your day, your week, your month, to get you in kind of a headspace of just being overall healthy minded. And I didn't actually kind of come up with that until the end, because I was thinking, well, what else to me is important? And when I wasn't doing meditation, I was kind of scattered in type A and on the move. And I think what's great about meditation is it just slows you down and gets you back to this point where you have a reset. So really the foundation of the program is diet. Well, I'll take the word diet out, is food changes, nutrition and fitness, and then a little bit of lifestyle, mindset work.
Interesting.
And that's the 60 days.
Okay. Interesting. So for somebody that, like myself, that knows they should probably do more of this, how do you motivate people to keep going? Because I think it's so easy to make up an excuse to say, not going to do it today. Right?
Yep. No, I mean, I like I said, I didn't want to go to yoga today,
Sure.
but, you know, as I finished up, I felt great about it. But I think what I have found to be the most motivating with these type of programs is kind of locking into a group of people who are also doing it. So, you know, a Facebook group, holding people accountable. I always encourage, so, you know, say that a corporation invited me and to do this program, and there's 300 people, but 60 people are going to do it. You know, they put the little competition on themselves for, you know, those 60 people are kind of eating together during those 60 days.
Gotcha.
So I always say find a partner or a group of people that you can connect to. And there's so much of a community in our Facebook groups too that, you know, right now we just have a Facebook group, but what we'll be doing probably after the first of the year, because we're going into that window, I call it the excuse window.
Okay,
we're going into that time frame now where the holidays are coming, and
right.
You know, I get it. Even I'm that way. Everyone says, you know, well, I'll do it after the holidays. So after the first of the year, we'll have individual groups where when we launch a program, you know, it'll be these set 60 days. You're locked in with this group. So to simply answer your question is to either have one or more people that you do this together with for kind of a group accountability program. And fun.
No, that makes sense. And that's helped me kind of get more involved in kind of doing my, like, working out, right? I think just feeling accountable to somebody else. You don't want to let them down, right? Or a group of people or your coworkers, or right? Like it's hard if everybody's going for a walk at lunch and you're just like at your desk eating chips or something, right? You kind of feel guilty. I think a lot of people would anyway.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, you know, I think the best part about the group is when people start seeing results together. I did a 40-day challenge with some people last year, and there was supposed to be one winner. There were 40 people that did this 40-day challenge, and we ended up having 4 winners because we did at the end, we did this kind of group vote, and everyone said, like, I mean, people would say, like, I can't believe how different this person looks, or their demeanor, or that you can tell their energy in just 40 days. So it works. I mean, holding someone accountable really works.
Sure. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. But you mentioned something to me that I didn't really realize was a thing about actually getting a bunch of stuff actually delivered to your house so you can kind of get a baseline of where you're at in the fitness space. Could you want to maybe talk a bit about that and what exactly that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I think that the word biomarker, have you heard of that word?
No, I haven't actually.
Okay. It's getting thrown around more and more, especially on the internet. And a biomarker is just a measurement. So it could be like a measurement such as where your mineral count is right now, or your white blood cell count, or you know, any of those, vitamin D, vitamin A. Those are your biomarkers, and they can come through blood, saliva, or urine. And nowadays it is just so easy. And people say to me, like, right off the bat, you know, I don't want to go get blood work. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, I don't want to go to the doctor's office. I don't want to take time off of work. I don't want to sit there. I don't want to wait for the lab results. And I get that. But now it is so easy to get your baseline measurements with a kit that comes right to your door. So there's so many different companies out there right now, and I work with a couple of them where, you order the test, it comes to your house the next day. It could just be a simple saliva test, or literally a cotton swab. It goes back to the company, and it comes to your email, and it'll say, like, here's where your current metabolism is. So I encourage everyone to at least do a lipid panel and a metabolism panel, which is, thyroid and cortisol, and your lipid panel is going to be your cholesterol and your LDL and your HDL cholesterol and where you're at. But I always tell people anytime they're going to do any kind of lifestyle program or food change, find out where your baseline is.
Sure.
And once you have your baseline, now you have something to go off of. So if you did all this work and you felt better and your clothes fit a little bit differently, but the scale didn't change, but you did your biomarker testing at, day 1, and you did it at day 65 and you had drastic results, you would talk about it. And you would also, knowing that, would you go a little bit further and say, what, I'm going to do this for 90 days and then I'm going to test my levels again. And I think, prevention is such a big thing nowadays, and it's not difficult to, order these tests. They're not expensive. You get them right to your door. You send them out. You get them in your email. And it just took all the reasons why people don't want to do this. Even as I don't want a needle. Great. You don't have to do it that way anymore. So I use these tests all the time, and I think they're a great baseline. And one thing I do want to follow up from the testing of this is, just like there's these tests, there's also a lot of food companies now that will deliver really great organic meals that are totally counted as they should be, calories and macronutrients and micronutrients right to your door. So with all of these kind of programs, it's as easy as can be, just depending on what your budget is and how far you want to take it. So ease is the name of the game.
Interesting.
Thanks for listening to Building the Future. This show is heard by more than 1 million people monthly in over 15 markets worldwide, including Silicon Valley. Kevin Horick's guests are leading business owners, successful entrepreneurs, and merchandisers worldwide. Now, your brand has an opportunity to tap into this dedicated and active group of business people who are looking for places to invest and the right opportunities to support. Find out how you can get involved at buildingthefutureshow.com.
So, sorry, you mentioned something that I want some clarification on. You can take your blood at home without sticking a needle in your arm. Is that what you mentioned?
You can do it's called a finger prick.
Okay.
And it's called dried blood testing. So there's 3 different ways to get your biomarkers. So you can do, there's telemedicine people that will come right to your house and draw blood. If
Gotcha.
You had a test where there were a lot of measurements, you can do a finger prick that comes right in the mail with the test.
Gotcha.
And that just uses 1 drop of blood, or you can do saliva.
Okay.
Most people, as you can imagine, lean towards the saliva.
Sure.
There are certain tests, like the lipids, you do have to do at least a finger prick for those. But
Okay.
There's a lot of tests if people are really like, I'm really not into needles. There's a lot of tests that you can do just with saliva.
Okay. No, that's kind of what I wanted clarification on, because I think a lot of people fear needles, myself included. So, but I'm curious to dive a little bit deeper into your thoughts on, so many people just weigh themselves, and I think you kind of just alluded to this a second ago, that if they don't see 5 pounds, 10 pounds gone after a certain period of time, they just give up. But to your point, if you can take a baseline and then 60 days or 30 days, you can see results based on your different, whatever's happening in your body, that's success, right? But if you never did the baseline, and you obviously wouldn't do the second round 30 or 60 days later, and you don't see results, and the scale basically hasn't really moved that much, you give up. But what are your thoughts on kind of the scale, right? Because it seems a little bit archaic to me.
Yes, it's such a good question. The scale is archaic for so many reasons. I mean, first of all, we can gain and lose, especially a female, like 2 to 3 pounds. Guys, it could be up to 5 pounds a day. So, if you weigh yourself in the morning, it's water weight. And if you weigh yourself in the morning versus the evening, or if you had a workout that day, or if you didn't have a workout, or if you ate salty food, any of these type of just daily behaviors can add or take away from that scale. And, I know myself, if I have a certain number in my mind and I go to the scale and I'm more like I actually feel kind of bummed out that day, or what did I do wrong that day? And so, we all, as we're getting into these programs and people are working out, you are putting on muscle or changing your muscle. And I always tell people that muscle weighs more than fat. And so let's say that you're 60 days into this program and you go back on that scale, and at day 60, you actually weigh more than you weighed on day one.
Right.
If you really get locked into that number of a scale, it's really going to be disappointing. So there's other ways to measure along with your biomarkers. I have people who are really, really conscious about kind of losing inches. They'll use, the soft fabric tape measures, and they'll measure their waist and their hips. And there's a lot more advanced technology nowadays than just jumping on that scale. So I do say, a scale's good as a baseline, but it's not something that you should do every day. And when you do weigh yourself at the same time of day, always before you work out. And so things like that. But I couldn't agree with you more that the scale's a little bit archaic now.
Sure. No, interesting. I've always just kind of, I guess the thing that's interesting is if it bugs somebody like you and it can ruin your day, who does this for a living and has been doing this for a long time and went to school for this and is helping others do it. Somebody like me or other people that aren't in this space that are trying to get better at it, they don't even have a chance then, right? If you're just going off the scale weight, right? You're basically just throw it out.
Yep, absolutely. And then if you get to the end of that 60 day and you're 10 pounds less, let's say, and then, 20 days later, when you go back to your regular lifestyle, you feel like, wait, was that all for nothing? But these changes in your body, I mean, it takes a while to gain weight and it takes a while to lose weight, but the more you stay with the program, the more you have these lasting results. And I'm at this point now where I don't even go on the scale. People say, like, what do you weigh? And I'm like, I don't know, and if I do start to feel, like maybe my clothes are fitting a little bit tighter, then I adjust my program for the week or I adjust my eating. But once you get to that kind of maintenance level, that's what you can do. You can make tiny adjustments based off of the week. You just stick with your general lifestyle guideline and make those adjustments as needed.
Interesting. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on, you've talked about what to eat and whatnot, but I think realistically, not everybody can make a super healthy meal every night of the week, or they need to make a meal that their kids will like. How do you work with people, maybe that are busy, that have kids, or a bit of both? Because I think, like, obviously sometimes people would like to prepare something that maybe takes an hour or 20 minutes, but sometimes they don't have that much time. So how do you work with people like that?
Yeah, very, very good question. And I think it comes down to a couple of things, like just being cognizant of what the extras are. So, let's say that, you've got two kids and you need to cook something quick, and you know that your kids, they like chicken fingers and French fries.
Sure.
So what are you going to eat? There's different little tricks. So you can if you make the French fries yourselves, or you cut potatoes and cut them into thin strips. You can make almost potato chips with a potato. You can make sweet potato French fries yourself. When it comes to something like chicken fingers, instead of frying them or just doing frozen, you can get chicken strips and dip them in almond flour and bake them. So there's a lot of variations of how to make something that kids will still eat. And then the other thing, and it was funny, I was just doing this speaking engagement and somebody asked me, like, where the most hidden sugars and salts, and I said it's in sauces.
Yeah, sure.
So if you can just quick make those sauces at home. I know my nephew loves honey mustard, and I literally just take a little bit of honey and a little bit of brown mustard, and I make honey mustard, and it's just so much better.
It tastes better too.
he loves it. I don't even think he would know the difference really, but
Interesting.
it's those little changes. So
I see. What about
when I
salad
say plan
dressing?
ahead,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, great. No, I was going to say when I say plan ahead, it's just you. It's funny that you said salad dressing. I was about to say when I say plan ahead, it's something like just taking 5. Really, I mean this 5 extra minutes and
Okay.
making whatever it is. So like you said, salad dressing. I mean, you can make salad dressings that are better than the store-bought ones. You can make them in 5 minutes. So,
Interesting.
people say to me, well, how do I make this? How do I make that? I will give you the exact recipe, the exact ingredients, and I will actually say it'll take less than 5 minutes. So when I say plan ahead, it might be plan ahead one time for something that you're going to use 10 times.
Right.
So that's as far ahead as you're planning. It's not, I've got to plan every single thing for every single meal, that I'm going to eat this week. It doesn't really have to be like that. It can be, once you figure out what you're going to eat the night before, figure out what those ingredients are that you have already in your house, figure out the whole foods. And then when it comes to dressing, just make them as basic as you can. And that will keep you away from the weight gain, because it's those hidden sugars that kind of keep adding up and adding up.
Sure. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Well, and I think a lot of people go shopping maybe once a week or once every couple of weeks and buy enough stuff for the week or two, right? And kind of meal plan a little bit. Just because I think a lot of people can't go to the grocery store every day or every second day. Have you experienced that, or what are your thoughts on that?
I actually like to go, like you said, once a week for the basics. And then I will drop in, like maybe on a Wednesday in the middle of the week for some lean meats or fish, something like that. But for the most part, I try to plan out the entire week. I know when I'm meeting friends, and I know when I'm going to go out to dinner. But yeah, you're totally right about once a week. And if you have to pick up a few fresh items here and there, like I usually just say add it in the middle of the week. If you can run there during lunch, put them in the fridge at work. I mean, that's the easiest way. But when it comes to kind of planning those meals, if you can cut out a lot of the prep work with these dressings and sauces and have those all prepared, you'll save yourself a lot of time. And most of the meals, most, if not all of the meals in the program are, something that will take maybe 10 minutes to prepare. And depending on if it's something that it has to cook, maybe 30 minutes. Right. So it's not too big, elaborate meals, anything like that.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And so how do you work with people that are maybe in sales or something where they're constantly out and about, going to different restaurants, maybe even going to events later in the night where maybe they're going for dinner and drinks, maybe a couple of nights a week? Like, how do you work with people like that? Because obviously there's a lot of calories in alcohol, and eating out all the time is probably not the best thing. How do you work with people like that, and what advice do you give people like that?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I was one of those people for so many years in some of the sales jobs that I had. And, even when I worked for Polar, we're selling something healthy, but we had a lot of lunches and dinners. Right. And so when it comes to alcohol, I kind of stick with the same guideline is, go for those clear alcohols, vodka, white tequila, stuff like that. Beer, I know so many people just love having a beer. Sure. I as much as I don't want to be the Debbie Downer, I think just beer is the one that it really is just full of calories. So if you're going to go to an event and you are going to have a beer, order a light beer, as light as you can. Or like I said before, if you're going to order a heavier beer, kind of pick and choose. If you can use the beer for your calories at that meal, then maybe eat a salad with some lean protein as your dinner. So when you're at a restaurant or you're at an event, just order things, sauce on the side, as much as you can. Whole foods, stick away from the pastas and the extra breads. And I think, it just comes down to like mindful eating. Okay. If you're out and you have a sales event and, you're sitting with the VP of the table and the CEO and this and that, and you're not going to be the one person who's going to start saying like, I don't want this and I don't want that. And next thing you know, like you're the conversation piece at the table. So if you know that that's going to be your evening, plan your day accordingly.
Okay.
Drink a ton of water throughout the day. And if that's going to be a heavy night of eating and drinking for you, then, get a great workout in the next day, get a great workout in the day before. So just bookend the bad day.
Interesting. Okay.
I never tell people to change their lifestyle around, change their whole life around this lifestyle of eating. It's just, small changes, change the day before, change the day after, and you're good for that day.
Interesting. Where would you put cider in that? Because it seems to be a lot more popular lately, and a lot more people seem to like it. Would you put it more closer to the beer side, like try to avoid it, or what's your thoughts on that? I would. Okay.
Yeah, I would. It's a lot of calories. It's a lot of sugar.
Sure.
So it's definitely kind of on the avoid list. And I don't drink ciders myself, so I guess I would have to say I'd have to do a little bit more research on that to even tell you which ones would be the good ones.
Okay.
But I know they are super popular. I think where people get in trouble with alcohol is like when it's like, 3-4 drinks and then
Sure.
you eat something bad too, and then you wake up the next day and you don't feel great, so you miss a workout. So I think it's sort of moderation on alcohol and drinks when you're out socializing. And the other thing that I actually tell people to do, and this works pretty good for me too, is you have a drink a glass, make your next drink a full glass of water or ice water, and
Okay.
have that, and then maybe have another drink later. So I always stack any drinks with ice water in between.
Okay. Interesting. I think you mentioned this earlier, but how many days a week should people try to get in a workout?
So ideally, in a perfect world, it would be 6.
Okay.
Give your body a full, complete day of rest. But 5 is okay. So even if let's say that you did 3 workouts during the week, and then you did 2 workouts on the weekend with maybe a Monday and Thursday off, totally fine. If you want to use one of those days off as to go for a nice walk or a hike that's not too strenuous, that's great. But at least 5, 35 to 40 minute workouts per week is where you really kind of need to get to or stay at. I myself, sometimes I really mix it up. So maybe one day I'll go running, and the next day I'll do yoga, and then the next day I'll do a boxing class, and then I'll take a day off, and then, kind of maybe I'll do a weight class. So you can really mix it up so that you're, different muscle groups are working and you're not sore every single day.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. And then what advice do you give people that maybe live in a colder climate where they have snow and they can't maybe necessarily go running outside or do any activities outside?
There's just so much you can do with your own body weight, and so much you can do in 35 to 40 minutes in front of the TV,
Sure.
talking to your family, just sitting there. There's a lot you can do. And nowadays, group exercise class has gotten there is a boutique fitness center in every single small town and every single big town within blocks of each other. It's definitely become sort of more than a fad. It's become this sort of way of life. You walk out the door and there's studios and boutiques all around. So there's some great apps out there that you can sign up for that'll give you all different kinds of workouts and tell you where everything is, like within feet from your door. So you can always find a workout. If not, just, combine a few different exercises at home and turn it into a quick workout.
No, I think that's actually really good advice. So you mentioned this earlier, but I think I want to kind of reiterate. A lot of people don't need to go buy crazy gym equipment for their basement, especially when they're starting out. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's so much that you can do with just your own body weight.
Sure.
And I tell people, if you were going to spend really, it's down to like $20, if you could just get one set of weights, maybe like for girls, 10 or 12 pounds, for guys, 15 or 20. You could do a lot with just weights, your own body weight, and then a jump rope. A jump rope or band, all super, super inexpensive. If you had, like in a perfect scenario would be you had one set of weights, a jump rope, and some bands. You could every single day, you could get a workout with those 3 pieces of equipment and your own body weight. A great workout.
Interesting. Yeah, because I think that's the other problem is so many people will go spend hundreds of dollars on, I don't know, something, and then it just collects dust, right? And then they kind of get angry at it and just get it out of the house eventually, right?
Absolutely. I've done it.
Yeah, fair. I think we all have. But we're kind of coming to the end of the show. So let's close with mentioning where people can get more information about yourself and any other links you want to mention.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can get information about me at Ma8trix.com, which is M-A and then the number 8, T-R-I-X. You can also visit me at Laura Calleia, LauraCalleia at Gmail. I also have my email, Laura at Ma8trix, Ma8trix.com. And then I actually give people my cell phone number too, if they're interested, because a lot of people just want to talk on the phone about things. So 310-927-7949. And any of those options are a way that you can get a hold of me. And I also do a lot of speaking events, especially coming up after Thanksgiving. So I'm out and about, and I love to help people and teach people things that I've learned along the way. And one thing I will add that I didn't tell you at the beginning, Kevin, but
sure.
With my genetic testing, ironically, I have the highest propensity towards obesity of probably most people. So the average person has about a 59% chance of being obese if they lived a completely sedentary lifestyle and never worked out. And mine is actually 79%, which is very, very high. So it would take me, I have to do 4 times the amount of work that the typical person would have to do. So because I know that this is my genetics, when I hear people just say my entire family's overweight, and I totally sympathize. I am that person, but there's definitely ways to teach yourself to not be that person in your family. So I always add that in there because it's just the most true story that I can ever tell anyone. So.
No, I think that's really good advice, because I think it sounds maybe bad, but if you see your trainer has the perfect tiny body type and they've never really kind of struggled with it, sometimes it's really hard to get motivated, right? So for somebody like you to openly talk about that you struggle with it personally and you're trying to help other people, I think that's very cool.
Thank you. And I have before and after pictures that I'm not scared to send too. Even all these years of fitness and nutrition, if I let myself go, I'll gain weight. So this is a way that I live every single day, and it's just not magic for me. It's not like I was genetically lucky to be, lean and thin. I live my own talk. So I just wanted to add that in.
No, that's really great. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time in your day to be on the show, and I look forward to keeping in touch with you, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Kevin. I've enjoyed talking to you too, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for listening. Please visit our website at buildingthefutureshow.com to join the free community, sign up for our newsletter, or to sponsor the show. The music is done by Electric Mantra. You can check him out at electricmantra.com. And keep building the future.